In June of 2009, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and the Center for Public Integrity exposed the massive worldwide trade in contraband tobacco and the criminal and terrorist networks that benefit from it. These networks extend into Canada, where over 100 organized criminal groups are involved, and the problem is growing. Today, the worldwide criminal network of contraband smugglers has reached into the heart of small-town Canada. This is having a severe impact on Canadians in 3 significant ways. According to the RCMP, millions of Canadian smokers are inadvertently funding 105 criminal organizations in Canada. These organizations are now pushing contraband and other illegal products to our kids in schools and neighborhood playgrounds.
Approximately 105 organized crime groups across Canada.
They identified Hells Angels for one. They identified Jamaican drug gangs, Sri Lankan mafia, Russian mafia. This was all published.
We've identified 32 organized crime groups in the Cornwall region who are involved with the contraband smuggling of tobacco, firearms, people, drugs.
Roughly just over 1 in 4 cigarettes is contraband.
1 in 4 cigarettes in high schools in Ottawa, contraband cigarettes.
That's right.
This particular area, Newmarket, the schools in the regional areas, the highest in Ontario. It's shocking.
Contraband smokers undermine government revenue by an estimated $2.4 billion in unpaid taxes, revenues that could be put towards important social programs.
Your provincial government alone is losing $500 million a year.
By purchasing contraband tobacco, smokers are diverting hundreds of millions of dollars from Canada's economy into criminal networks. As tobacco sales drop in legitimate retail outlets, the sale of other products also drop, and this hurts honest, hard-working retailers.
In the last 2 years, almost 1,500 small family stores in every community in this province have closed because of contraband tobacco. There seems to be no will to correct it. There just seems to be, let's see where it goes, and it's very unfair to families that run convenience stores in every community in Ontario.
Contraband tobacco is cheap. At times, it's cheaper than a pack of gum. It's not regulated, nor does it meet the strict government standards that legal tobacco must adhere to. As a result, contraband tobacco is often contaminated.
One begins to wonder what else is in there, not just the feces or bugs in the tobacco. Is there drugs? Do you want to hook them up for other things?
No ID required. You only want 5 cigarettes, that's no problem. You want a whole bag of 200 for $10 or $20? No problem. We'll sell it to you. Want a little ecstasy for the weekend? We got that too. We'll be back tomorrow and deliver it to you. How about a little grass? How about a bottle of vodka? Maybe even a weapon.
Unfortunately, most people are unaware of the negative consequences that contraband tobacco poses to communities across Canada. They don't realize it's a serious crime and that criminals profit from it. Gary Grant is a 40-year veteran of the Toronto Police Service and recipient of the Governor-General's Award of Merit. Gary is also the founder of Toronto Crime Stoppers and spokesperson for the National Coalition Against Contraband Tobacco.
Up to 50% of all cigarettes smoked in Ontario have been sold by criminals using a sophisticated distribution network to bring the cigarettes across the province and plowing that money back into organized crime, whether it's gun running, sales of drugs, or even into terrorism. And the worst thing is that they're targeting our teenage sons and daughters, selling them illegal cigarettes cheaply and easily, no ID asked for, and our teenagers learn that it's okay to break the law.
A public opinion study conducted by the Canadian Convenience Store Association in the summer of 2009 showed that a significant percentage of respondents were unaware of the problems contraband poses to our society. In addition, more than 50% had little or no opinion as to how important the problem should be to government. It's little wonder why most politicians have been slow to tackle this serious problem. Liz Nurse and her husband own and operate a convenience store on the banks of the St. Lawrence River in Cornwall, Ontario. They have observed this disturbing shift in public attitude toward contraband.
We all thought that they were criminals selling the contraband cigarettes. And about 6 or 7 years ago, the respected citizen of Cornwall changed their view of these criminals selling the contraband, and they started buying from them. So we have very good customers that will now purchase contraband. And that changed, the mindset changed, I would say maybe 6 years ago, and we don't know why that happened. Well, but the like very well respected people we know are buying contraband. As soon as they can't get their supplies, they tell us, we can't find it, what do you have instead?
While many Canadians see this as a victimless crime, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Retail outlets are prohibited from selling cigarettes to anyone under the age of 19. In fact, the convenience store industry has invested millions into its hugely successful ID check system, We Expect ID, to ensure that kids don't have access to tobacco. Retailers are monitored closely by government officials and local health boards who employ minors to conduct mystery shops and ensure that retailers are compliant with the law.
We have had, as I said, over these 18 years, I would say maybe 1 or 2, and I don't even think I'd have a handful of kids that have tried to come in here and smoke, buy cigarettes underage. The ones that come in are the ones that are paid for with our tax money from the Ontario Health Unit. We run our store as a family store. We try to card everybody. We put in programs for our employees. I don't even believe that's the problem. I believe that the kids that want to smoke are buying them contraband.
And therein lies the opportunity for criminals. Criminal networks are not challenged by the health boards, and they don't ask for ID. For criminal networks, Canada's contraband tobacco trade has become a license to print money. And that's had the additional consequence of harming thousands of honest retailers. Smokers have diverted hundreds of millions of dollars away from the legal tobacco retailers into the hands of criminal organizations. While this hurts all retailers, some have been forced out of business.
Gradually seen a decline in our customer counts, to the point where over 5 years, I think we'd lost roughly 30% of our customers. So it's been dramatic. It's had a dramatic impact. And not only have we lost, the tobacco business, which we sell as a result of having those customers come through our turnstiles, we've also lost, all the additional business we do, the sale of lottery tickets, milk, bread, gum, newspapers. All that business has gone away as well, too. So it's been quite a dramatic impact on our business.
And it's not just the convenience stores that suffer from this. In fact, criminal contraband purchases hurt all Canadians. In addition to putting our children in harm's way and undermining legitimate businesses, Canadian social programs that are funded by our tax dollars lose about $2.4 billion in government revenue through the sale of contraband each year. That amount of money could equip the Canadian healthcare system with approximately 700 MRI machines. Today, contraband tobacco can be found in almost every community, large and small, throughout central Canada, and the distribution continues to spread. Contraband is smuggled into Canada through a variety of entry points, in a variety of ways. The largest point of entry is the Akwesasne Reserve, which straddles the Canada-U.S. border near Cornwall, Ontario. The tobacco is smuggled across the St. Lawrence River, where hundreds of miles of shoreline make it difficult for RCMP and local police to monitor.
And smuggled across on boats and in cars across the bridge in any manner. And it's like trying to put your finger in a dike, because there's so many spots to get across, and there's so many people that have been compromised into cooperating with the smugglers. It's almost impossible for the RCMP to stop them. They'll go to people's homes and say, we'd like to use your dock if they're on the river. Can we use your dock to make some deliveries? Some people will say no. Some people will be intimidated into saying yes. And some people will accept the money and the bribes they're being offered.
While this often focuses our attention on First Nations communities, we should be focused on 105 criminal organizations that control the distribution networks throughout Canada. And we shouldn't overlook the smokers who fuel criminal networks when they purchase contraband. While the RCMP and the other police departments are trying to curb the flow, their resources are limited and contraband cigarettes continue to flow into Canada by the millions. The current membership of the National Coalition Against Contraband Tobacco includes Toronto Crime Stoppers, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, the Canadian Convenience Store Association, the Customs and Immigration Union, National Citizens Coalition, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and the Frontier Duty Free Association, among others. In September and October of 2009, the National Coalition Against Contraband Tobacco released their second study showing that this criminal activity has fostered significant contraband use in Canadian schools, primarily in Ontario and Quebec. And what they found should frighten you. The study shows that the use of contraband in many high schools is already high, and as criminals continue to push tobacco into our schools without interference, these numbers will undoubtedly continue to rise. In Ontario and Quebec, Statistics Canada reports that there are more than 1,300,000 youth between the ages of 15 and 19, and about 10% or 130,000 of these youth are cigarette smokers. The researchers focused on finding out how many youth smoked contraband cigarettes. The research began with the collection of more than 28,000 cigarette butts from 185 school sites, where youth gather and smoke. The study included site locations in communities large and small, and included schools in both the public and separate school boards. While results did vary from community to community, it was clear that contraband was present everywhere, and youth across Ontario and Quebec were gaining access to it in increasing levels. The cigarettes were analyzed to determine their origin, and then categorized as either legal or contraband. Of the 28,000 butts collected on 185 school sites, 36% were found to be contraband cigarettes distributed through criminal networks. During an extensive 8-week and 11-city tour across Ontario in 2009, the NCACT engaged hundreds of stakeholders and identified several possible solutions. They included increased enforcement, enhanced border security, public awareness campaigns, a ban on youth tobacco possession, improved collaboration between Canadian and U.S. officials, and an open dialogue with First Nations communities. It's time for governments across Canada and law-abiding citizens to butt in and stamp out this growing problem. It's time for smokers to do the right thing and stop supporting the criminal networks with their purchases. It's time to do the right thing and protect our children from the criminal networks that sell illegal tobacco, drugs, and guns.
You're going around parks, playgrounds, skate parks, plazas, anywhere kids congregate, and selling them not ice cream, folks, but contraband tobacco, drugs, alcohol, possibly even weapons.
It's time to take action. Call your local MP or MPP. Visit our website at www.stopcontrabandtobacco.ca and join the coalition.